All right. Good morning and good afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome to our mastermind this month. As you know, I like to invite the smartest people I know to come join us and talk with us. And when it came to the subject of branding and social media and just overall telling your story, I could not think of a better person to join us. So, who is joining us today is MAP's executive coach, Leah Lemberg. Leah, why don't you share with us? Well, don't give me that face. Why don't you share with us a little bit of your background, and then feel free to take the call wherever you'd like, and well, let's go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Matt, I'm going to do my dangest so that you don't have to do much. If you're feeling, you put on such a good face, but if you're feeling crappy, you can tap out. It's okay.
I appreciate
Um,
it.
Absolutely. My name is Leah Lemberg. I am a MAPS executive coach, head coach. I run a cadre group of coaches as well. And I joined, I always screw these dates up, and I really should get this like written down next to my computer screen at some point. I joined MAPS as a coach in 2018. I believe that's correct. Does
Yeah,
that sound
same year
right?
as me. That's
Okay,
correct.
perfect. There we go. Yes.
Yep.
Someone to keep me honest here. Um, and the year following that, I left my role as a director of sales on a team that I was the lead listing agent for and director of sales for. I had joined that team as a buyer's agent, rose through the ranks, so to speak, although I don't think any position is any better than any other, and became the director of sales for that team. Had a bunch of life shifts happen all at one time, got a divorce, realized I wanted to move home, blah de and hired out my replacement for both the listing agent role, director of sales role, saw that that was going pretty darn well, and jetted back to North Carolina, which is my home state. Um, Through the process of being a MAPS coach, I've had various phases, I'm going to say, and I hope this is okay. I don't think Matt would bring me on to a call where it isn't okay for me to be very transparent and very honest. Okay, good. Yep,
Please.
because I know Matt to also be a very transparent, very honest fella, right? There have been phases in my career as a MAPS coach, which I've been doing full time, nothing else other than that since 2019, since leaving that team, where I have been very much like I'm just going to play in my own little corner and hope no one notices me and do what I want to do and not be very come from contribution. I'm just going to do me. I have been everything from a dependent, independent, interdependent model in terms of how I play into maps, and have really found, I feel like at this point, a very interdependent win-win situation that I feel like is translatable into the PC programs, into your personal real estate businesses,
Already
whatever
done.
it might look like.
At the end of the day,
Right?
it's already done.
Okay.
Hey, there he
There we go.
goes. Um, so what I put together when Matt said, "Hey, would you mind speaking to my group?" One of the things that he mentioned was, "Would you mind talking to them a little bit about what you've done with the brand builders group that you've hired on as well?" And I said, "Absolutely." So what I put together is I have a slide deck. We're going to get into the weeds with that. But I also want to give you just a brief little overview of what the heck brand builders is and why Matt was asking if I would talk about that more directly. Who here has been to Family Reunion Mega Camp, any of the events where they've heard Rory Vaden speak? Take the stairs, procrastinate on purpose. Yep, seeing some hands raised, some nods.
For
Rory
for
Vaden,
context, for context, he was one of the main speakers during the CEO Mastermind at last year's family reunion. Was he at Mega Camp?
I believe he was at Mega Camp. If not Mega Camp, I'm pretty sure he also had a breakout session at Family Reunion this last go round.
Okay. Okay.
He and Phil Jones are buddies. So
Hmm.
where you see Phil, you often see Rory. He's in the MREA podcast. Thank you, Jerry. Yes. You will find Rory's work around us in Keller Williams. Rory's whole focus is helping to make sure that individuals, not big businesses, build brands that are recognizable and attack a specific thing, that you get to be known for a specific thing. For example, who here knows Ed Milet and saw that speech and maybe walked out of the room with teary eyes? Ed worked with brand builders to hone his message and to really hone his work. He and many, many, many other people, right? So after getting back from a Phil Jones certification training at the beginning of this year, where Phil mentioned Rory for like the third, 50th, millionth time that I had heard his name, I was like, well, crap, it seems like I really should need to do some work on this. And it's been my mission this whole year of really honing in and actually putting like the fine tuning bits around the brand. Here's why I feel like this is important. I'm going to start to share screen here. Can we see?
Yep.
Yep, fabulous. And I can't see you guys there. There you go. Perfect. Um, what Rory is very passionate about is first figuring out what he calls brand positioning. He uses this quote all the time. You are most powerfully positioned to help the person that you once were. You'll hear him say it on stage. You'll hear him say it in his books. You'll hear him say it in everything that he does. If you ever decided to sign up for brand builders and work directly with him into building out your brand, you're going to hear him talk about this. So this is what makes people like you and want to work with you is the fact that you're probably solving a problem for them that you are uniquely positioned to solve. So the question that I would start with, and I would encourage you guys to jot some of this down and kind of fiddle with it as you have some quiet space in your day, is who am I and who do I serve? And those are very big questions.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, and Matt, you can definitely agree with this, I'm sure, that as someone who coaches coaches and has begged for the coaches that I work with to get wildly crystal clear on who do you serve, what is the problem that you solve, I hear big general things all the time. Well, I help people who want to go from 60 units to go to 100 units. Okay, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
I help people achieve their goals. What is that? What is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of an example. Well, or I'm going to edit the document. You can see this is not my strong suit. You're most powerfully positioned to help the person you once were. Who am I? I am someone, when I really think about my story, my past, is I'm forced to confront what real success means for me. What does that mean? I already mentioned to you guys that I went through a divorce. At that time, I already told you too that I was a lead listing agent on the team and that I was the director of sales for the team. I was personally closing right around 75 units a year and managing the business for the entirety of the team in terms of the sales and direction and coaching of the agents on the team. Um, and a piece of success also meant that I had what appeared to be in a successful marriage and a successful family, and that things look good on the outside. And when all of that came tumbling down, I had to confront what actually matters to me. What do I care about? How do I want to spend my time? So that's piece number one. Hard won growth
So
in real estate. We're Matt, yes.
yeah, so I just to put this in productivity coaching context, I want to encourage all of you to think about your journey in real estate. What went well in the beginning? What didn't go well? What were some of the challenges that you faced? And what were some of the things that you did in order to overcome those? Those are going to be some of the things to really lean in on. Yes, of course, our mission is to get agents into production and, help cut down the learning curve and all that stuff. And yet, every one of you had a unique story, right? Some of you came from corporate life and had to deal with how to become an entrepreneur. Some of you, maybe had were a stay-at-home mom for a while and then had to figure out how to get back into the working force and think about the things that you leaned into in order to make that happen. So it's not that you're excluding people who don't have that story. You're just leaning into that because that is a big part of who you are and why you are where you are today. Does that make sense? Leah, does that make sense? Or would you add
Yeah,
anything
that
to
makes
that?
beautiful sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No. We even got the cat's attention there, Jody. I love that. It's awesome. Yeah, so that's spot on, right? People don't, what's that old adage? People don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Mhm.
A piece of that is that, right, in order to be an effective leader, and you are all leaders, is that they have to sense the vulnerability. They have to know there's a human on the other side who actually wants to help me. Well, how do they know that? They need to know a little bit about who you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Additionally, when I think about what I resonate with the clients that I enjoy working with, I also think about myself with the hard won growth in real estate and in life, right? I like to find someone who has a little bit of grit, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, a little bit of like things didn't really come easy for me, right? Um, and then personally, I'm someone that is driven by personal growth and commitment to authenticity. As I mentioned at the top, like I hope Matt didn't bring me into a room where I couldn't be honest and truthful and authentic. It's who I am. I'm gonna be who I am. Obviously not at the sake of offending anyone or anything along those lines. And yet I'm gonna be honest about who I am, what I've experienced, and how that shapes who I am today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The more you lean into that, the more you give your clients permission to be their authentic selves,
Yep.
right? Nobody succeeds in real estate by being this caricature of a perfect agent. You deal with the messiness as it comes, and you find ways to overcome those. That's how we got where we are today, and that's the message we want to continue to convey to our people. So
That's right. That's right. So, based on my own personal journey, my own reflection, who do I serve? I've come up with a couple of things that help that are a little bit more specific than people who want to grow, right? I like to serve people who are business owners stuck in a cycle of overwork and underfulfillment. Been there, done that, right? I can deeply relate to that. Clients who are ready for depth, growth, and radical responsibility because I'm going to hold that mirror up and I have to make sure that they're going to be willing to go along with that journey.
yeah, well said.
Right? Then Rory encourages us to come up with a I help blank do blank, right? So my personal elevator pitch, if you will, is I help legacy-led leaders find fulfillment outside of business success. And you want that phrase to be just vague enough that someone goes, well, what does that mean? So that you're actually getting into a conversation with them. So you don't just help coach the next rising stars within the market center. How else could you phrase that means something more than just I'm helping people to hit numbers? Think deeply into that.
Out of curiosity, is there anybody on the call who wants to take a shot at that? I help blank do blank.
Mhm. I had several iterations that were terrible before I came up with one that I kind of liked too. So it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone think on that. The last thing I want to do is take this presentation to a grinding halt. But if somebody does come up with something that you're interested in sharing, please just raise your digital hand and we'll go from there. So go ahead, Leah.
Yeah. I would encourage you too, as you're working on that phrase, to share it with someone and see what like their reaction is. Don't hold it in. Share it with someone for sure, for sure.
Well,
Um,
in addition to that, sorry to interrupt you, Leah,
you're
but
fine.
I would encourage you to share that with somebody and then ask them specifically what comes up for you, what emotion, what feeling comes up for you as you hear that. It's not just do they like it or do they not like it, but you want to make sure that what's coming up for them is in line with what you want to have happen, what you want to come up for them. Because it could sound really great, but if it's not your intention, then you might be barking up the wrong tree.
Well said.
So go
Yep,
ahead.
well said. Yep. So again, you are most powerfully positioned to help the person that you once were. Once I've come up with who am I, who do I serve, what is my I help blank do blank, then how is this reflected in my brand? Am I staying true to that? And I'll be honest with you. So this is just a snapshot of the stuff that I write about. And there are times when I'm about to publish something where I am like, whoop, that's going to make me sweat. I don't really want to publish that for the whole world to see, but it's authentic and it's true and it speaks to the person that I once was. So, everything from Tony Soprano to talking about playing a fiddle. And I promise I managed to make these all relate to work and they all resonate with me if no one else.
I love that. Where could they check these out more in depth?
LeahLemberg.com is my website. You're happy to poke around at that. And we'll talk more about that in just a split second too. Not my website particularly, but so I would think about like how do I incorporate this into my world? One of the things that I do that helps, I was just fiddling with this. Now don't judge me for whatever other notes are on here. I don't know. We're not looking at them. One of the things that I do is when I have an idea about something that should be discussed, is I jot it down. So I've got a whole list of things here that I still need to expand on. Don't ask me some of the, like I don't remember what I was going to say about bees and bread, but there was something there. It'll come to me one day. And then I make sure that I've gotten a whole, here are the things that I've written about, here are the things that I've written and filmed about, and here's the stuff that actually got published so that I can keep track. Also, when I see something that I like on Facebook, on Instagram, on a podcast, on whatever, I'll drop it in here so that, yes, something about a bison, it makes sense, just bear with me, right? I drop it in here so that when it's time to actually do something creative, which I am not the most creative person in the world, genuinely, I have that repository to pull from that still feels authentic, feels like me, it's going to sound like me, and it's going to speak to the people that I serve.
I
Does
love
that
that.
make sense?
That's a great application of what Phil
Challenges.
Jones says, and Leah, help me because I'm sure I'm gonna butcher
Absolutely.
it. But the worst time to think of something to say is in the moment you need to say it.
There it is.
Same thing's true when you're trying to create a blog or a podcast or a whatever. If you're waiting until the moment where you're sitting down and you say, "Okay, creativity, strike me," that never works, right?
Mm.
I love how you just showed, taking notes of things as they come up in real life. They don't have to make a ton of sense. You don't have to have the idea fully fleshed out, but just doing your future self a favor is fantastic. So
Well, how many of us have an agent who has at least one of their lead gen levers is social media in some way, shape, or form? Right? And how many of them do this like start stop thing where they publish a bunch and then they don't publish anything and then they come to you and they say, "Well, I know what I need to do is I need to get in there and make more videos and this is the solution for that." I have the same problem. I'm not a creative guru. I have to dump it when it comes so that when I time block that time to sit down and make that blog post, make that video, that I just have to do what I've already told myself I needed to do. Right?
love it.
Okay. Okay, little bit more on this focus here of the power of brand positioning and identifying who it is that you serve. This is straight out of brand builders. And I cannot tell you how powerful this is. And once you work through this and and it will not come immediately. So don't 5 minutes after this call, you can't text me and say I'm ready for the second set of questions because you're not. Okay. When you are done with this set of questions, when you really feel solid on answering these questions, then there's a second set of questions that are helpful to go through as well. Answering these questions for what you think your ideal client would say, ideally as one word and as a noun. Okay, and I'll show you an example in just a moment. Your ideal client, not now we're switching gears from what I would say, my story, me, to what I think my ideal client would say. What I really want is one word, noun. What would it be? What I really don't want is I'm struggling to, I need help with, I really feel one thing holding me back is, and I wish I had more. This is wildly powerful stuff. And you can take this and use this for ideal client work for a realtor as well.
Yeah.
We can identify the ideal client of the PC folks that you're working with as well with these same questions. Right? Here's an example of how this shows up. I had answered this for myself, what I believed my ideal client would say. And then weird, this just happens sometimes. I had 3 coaching calls in one week where there was a moment where I was like, I need to ask my client these questions. They're spinning and I need to get them clarity and I'm going to ask them these questions. And they came up with basically exactly what I anticipated that they would say. This is too small, isn't it? Okay. So what I really want is freedom. What I really don't want is frustration. I'm struggling to sustain. I need help with leverage. I really feel drowning because I said one word. You can't give me more than one word. The one thing that's holding me back is clarity. I wish I had more talent. If you read through these other two, what I really want is leverage. What I don't want is to have to follow up with things. Struggling to systematize. I need help with systematized. I feel overwhelmed, in the mud, not good enough. One thing holding me back is accountability. I wish I had a more well-oiled machine. Leadership, babysitting. Can you tell what my ideal client struggles with?
Yeah.
Right? I don't have to wonder who I'm best serving. This is out of their mouths. It also happened to line up gorgeously with what I anticipated that they would think. Is that too small? I'm trying to make it fit just right. Okay.
Well, and Leah, one thing I wanted to mention here is while we're talking about building a brand, these are really great questions to sit down with new potential clients, especially those who have some real estate experience, to identify the areas in which you can make the greatest impact on them and their business. Leah, for context, a lot of different productivity coaches. Um, have a perception challenge in their market center. They think productivity coaching is only to teach people how to write a contract or how to do a listing presentation. And so, somebody who's like a half capper or just barely capper, they'll sit down with a PC and they'll say, I don't need that. I don't need coaching. I've got this. If you just ask those questions, that would be a very quick way to identify what are the areas of opportunity with that person to make a positive impact.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
And it is amusing when we all find people like this, whatever, size of business or whatever, the comment of I don't need coaching, I've got it. They need you. They need you. I know how hard it is to be a PC. I admire you guys to no end. They need you. We just need to help them understand why it is that they need you.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes the greatest thing we can do is help them get out of their own way.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to just pause for a second. Is there anyone who has, looking at those answers or what my clients had said, is there anyone who has like a theme that they're already going, my clients always say this kind of thing?
We will sit in the silence. I do expect an answer here.
I think one of the biggest things we hear is overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing with that, okay? Overwhelm is a blanket statement and it tells us nothing, right? So when we hear overwhelm, I want to encourage everyone to immediately think, okay, there's another layer. What's beneath that?
Yep.
Right? Because
That's true, but we're talking about one word, and so that's the common theme that we hear.
Sure.
And I should qualify that by saying that's what we hear from the newest of the agents.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I love about that, Jody?
Go ahead, please.
Just briefly, what's helpful with this is when I first saw these questions, I was talking to my strategist with brand builders, and I was like, these questions are redundant, right? It's asking the same thing over and over again. And she said, yeah, exactly. Because it's going to force that overwhelm to go, okay, well, if you keep asking, it's that go three deep rule. It's going to force them to get more and more clear and more specific in what are you overwhelmed by? That's such a great point.
Yeah.
Killer point.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Is there a common theme with the not the newest, not the wettest behind the ears, folks?
I think
leverage.
Time.
Krista?
Yeah, follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is one thing that I hear consistently, especially from agents that are in production. And it goes synonymous with time. I don't have the time to get to all of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and so if you think about it, leverage really is the overarching theme. If you subscribe to Gary's definition of leverage, which is systems and models, tools and technology, and then people, and especially at that middle level, that's generally the thing that they're struggling with the most. What type of leverage they're looking for, that's where the conversation comes in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jerry, were you going to say something as well?
Yeah, I just shouted out leverage.
Okay, perfect. Foreshadowing moment there. Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, so anything else on this area of identifying your ideal client? There's a reason I spent half of the call time on this. Without this, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're literally throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Hoping that someone's like, yeah, that's what I want. If you can get crystal clear on who it is that you want to serve, all the rest of this becomes so much easier. It's not even funny.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, and to go along with this, because this is something that I picked up from our mutual coach, Liz Landry. Uh, Look at the clients that you love to work with. Look at the coaching conversations that didn't drain you over the course of a week. And I would encourage you to go back and look at those and ask yourself, what are the consistent patterns? Or as Liz would say, what are the problems I like to solve? Right? That will help you really identify that ideal client.
I can say that one of the things that I've noticed when I come away from a call or anything with one of my agents, when they have done what they committed to do and are willing to be coached and held accountable. It's the ones who are fighting it, making excuses, not showing up half the time. That drains the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, it's like some days I wonder, why do I even do this? I mean, I love doing this, but I have one that I coach one-on-one now, and I don't dread doing it. For a while I got to the point where I dreaded my one-on-ones, not with Lori and Emily, but I've never done that. um, but with the agents, but part of that is me setting better standards.
There you go. Yep.
Your satisfaction with your role as a coach is a direct correlation to the percentage of your roster that fits your ideal client. Right? I learned that firsthand. I got very burned out early on in MAPS because I tried to be all things to all people as opposed to narrowing down on my focus. And now I know exactly who's a good client for me and who's not a good client for me, and it really protects my energy. You know, Jerry?
No, I was just going to say that I really kind of identifying with a lot of this, especially the most powerfully positioned to help, right? Because one thing I noticed myself doing in coaching is really leaning into people on what they will do. What will you do? Because if you will do it, then you're more likely to do it consistently. And that came from just knowing in my own background, I struggled with that. I was like, well, I don't really have to do this, so why would I do it? Right. And so, but then when you lean into what you will do, well, you'll do it because you enjoy it. There's some enjoyment. It may be hard, but you enjoy the hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So I appreciate this.
Great point.
Awesome.
Yep. I remember one of my early one-on-one clients that I picked up from MAPS got on the call, and he's I love him to bits and pieces. We still work together today. Brash guy from New York, Long Island. And he was like, I just know that you're going to make me do all this stuff I don't want to do. And I was like, well, surprise. No, I'm not, because there's no point. I'm not going to make you do anything. I can't make you do anything. Right? We're going to figure out what's working. What do you want to do? And how do we double down on that? And he was like, oh, okay. Okay. So once we have that clarity around the ideal client, how we serve them, who we serve, right? All of that. And I would also just one last little icing on the cake with this too, is once you figure out like, here's who I am and who I serve, I'd also challenge you to think about too, how would your ideal client define their problem? Because of what Jody and Jerry just mentioned too, is this is also something worth keeping in mind. The way I define my ideal client's problem, frankly, is that they have a lack of leadership skills. Now, that is not what they would come to me and say. They would come to me and say, no one around me does anything they're supposed to do, right? I can't find good talent. So I need to be cognizant of how do they define their problem. And my solution is still my solution. I'm going to pump into them a bunch of leadership skills, right? However, I need to make sure I'm speaking their language. This is going to be important when we're talking about how then do I build my brand outside of that and get people coming into my web, okay? So you've probably heard this before since we're all Keller Williams people. If you haven't, surprise, surprise, your database is your business, guys. This is true whether you're doing real estate sales or whether you're building a coaching company, whether you're launching a coaching course, whether you're trying to get training people in for training classes, doesn't matter, right? And what we got to look at is what am I doing to help to capture more people into my database? If you don't have a database of coaching leads, let's start building one and being intentional about that. Because whether you're always the PC coach for this market center or you're hopping around to different market centers, or you decide, you know what, I'm going to be Lori's coaching company 2025. That's great. You need a database. Okay. So when you are building out your database, think about it. You've probably heard this before too. You got to think about your product ladder. What am I offering? Funnel, we've talked about lead funnel in real estate too. This is no different. What am I offering for free that's getting people to sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my YouTube channel, sign up, whatever it is? When you're looking at this too, for the free thing, consider genuinely what is a medium I can get people to sign up for that I actually own the database, i.e., I have asked you for your email address, your phone number, and permission to talk to you, versus you're following me on Instagram, for example. You're following me on Instagram is good, but I don't really have any way of contacting you if you decide to ghost me in your DMs. Right? This is a no-brainer. Then we're going to be doing like an initial offer. This might be a monthly membership. Hey, come join us for our monthly mastermind that I'm going to charge you $10 to come to the coffee shop for. Or I'm going to offer up a main offer, which is that I specialize in teaching this particular course and it fits with my brand and the problem that I solved. Do you see how this is stacking? All the way up to the exclusive premium offer, which for us in this environment is more than likely one-on-one coaching, which we can charge a premium for. Yes? Cool, cool, cool.
Absolutely. Okay. And it's a good illustration. I know everybody on this call knows this, but in case anybody happens to be a new productivity coach in the future watching this, not everybody is ideal for your premium offer, which means not every one of your clients should or deserves a one-on-one coaching session. That is your highest form of value that you can offer. And it is completely wasted if you get a bunch of goofballs who don't want to do any work. So don't think that your goal is to drive everybody to one-on-one coaching. It's about finding the value that best fits with what they want, and of course, what they're willing to do in order to get that.
Along those same lines, we oftentimes think that the way to, let's just speak candidly for a second, that the way to have the most money, the most income is to drive what Matt was saying, everyone to the one-on-one product. I would love for you guys to enlighten yourself to the world of online coaches that are outside of real estate. This is something I harp on a lot. It's a hill that I will die on. Other people have figured this out, and we're acting like we need to reinvent the wheel. For example, I was just showing a client this yesterday. Anyone care to guess how much this gal makes selling courses on how to use Excel properly? Toss a number out there. Take yourself off of mute and just toss a number out there.
What she makes per year?
Per year.
$6
million bucks.
Who said million?
Me.
Raise it up, Bill. Million plus. She doesn't have one-on-one classes or coaching. She sells classes, period. Point blank. On something as simple as Excel. Now, I say that. I have cursed my heart out making spreadsheets before. So perhaps I should take one of her classes before I say something as simple as Excel. She does not do one-on-one. I listened to an interview with her too, where she talked about how her schedule is that she will take a 12-week period to develop a new course, lab it, test it, launch it, and then she's done.
Yeah.
For like 12 weeks or 24 weeks or the rest of the year. Who cares? She's making over $1 million a year.
Yeah.
So remember, you guys are a wealth of information. You could be pumping out stuff like this, charging for it, and making buku money and never having to worry about one-on-ones.
Well, and here's another example, right? Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is a great example of this. Now, this might be old, and this might be I might have misinformation, but I know at one point I knew what he charged per month for one-on-one coaching. Anybody guess what that is?
$5,000. 10.
Way up. Keep going.
Like
Well, you said it was old, so
50.
I'm thinking
Keep going.
Like
Keep
With
going.
Tony himself.
100 grand,
Keep going.
200.
I heard at one point, Leah, if you heard differently, please correct me. I heard at one point he charged $1 million a month to people he offered one-on-one
Okay.
coaching sessions to.
Yep.
And that's a loss leader for him. He does not make as much money doing one-on-one coaching as he does everything else. His, Date with Destiny courses and his speaking engagements and all of that stuff. He makes most of his money from the offerings that he has, that is reaching to the masses. So don't just assume one-on-one coaching is your highest and best, money maker, money return, return on investment. Sorry, clearly I don't feel great. I can't think straight right now. But I just wanted to throw that out there that don't just assume one-on-one is the only thing that you can offer to make the greatest impact. So, Leah, anything to add with that?
No, just it's 100% true, right? If you look outside of the real estate coaching industry and you look at the opportunities for making income, it's not the one-on-ones. One-on-ones are the absolute exclusive tip top of the barrel. And that gets to be reserved for the people that you are just dying to work with. And what a privilege that becomes, right? Where I get to decide truly how I spend my one-on-one time with the people that I want to work with. So when it comes to where we start to build out this authority and how to capture people into your spider web is the way I think about it. And genuinely want you to think about it as a spider web where once they're in it, they're stuck, right? That one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And before they know it, they're accidentally on your Instagram and they've scrolled through your website and now they've subscribed to your whatever, right? So for myself, the three mediums that I like to use the most are my social media, my newsletter, and my website. For other folks, it's YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, right? Doesn't matter what combination that you choose to utilize, just pick something that you understand and that you feel comfortable enough utilizing, right? Could be a podcast, could a million different things. For your website, the biggest takeaway here is that you're going to want to give your value and give it freely. There is no such thing as giving away too much information. You know this as well as I do, that you can give away. Gary has done this for decades. All the juicy bits of information. He published MREA. There's the whole secret of how to make it happen. How many people actually do it? They have to hire you as a coach in order to make sure that you help lead them down the path. So give your value away and give it freely. And then at some point, we're going to be adding into your website, theoretically, if you're using a website, could also, whatever it is, I recommend having a website, paid tools. So that's going to be, you're either going to pay for a membership to be able to access my repository of tools that I've branded or whatever, or my courses that you're going to pay to get one step into my mind, one step further into my mind, right? That's what we do with the newsletter. With my website. I've already flashed this up on the screen. All the stuff that I send out in the newsletter is also published here for free, absolute access, including tools, resources, the whole 9 yards. It's all in here, right? What's missing from this in my next phase of development is to add, I have it in the works, a tab for courses. And that when you have your free resources, there's going to be a little bar that pops up here as well that is selling my courses. So if we were to look at, for example, if I can get to the website and not my portal or my login. Let's see. Wrong. That's wrong. 1 second here. If you were to, see, that's our portal. Bad example. If you were to scroll around on the Brand Builders Group website, you will see that there's these little plugs of like, sign up for Rory Vaden's Blah Dotty class, become a Brand Builders Group member, that as you're scrolling the free stuff that you've got access to, have at it, you're also getting these plugs for, man, I want more of this, I should buy this.
I have it pulled up. I'm going to share real quick.
Oh, thank you, Matt.
You can see. Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. So you got free resources, workshops.
Click on free resources.
Okay.
And click on just any, click on like If you start scrolling around long enough, what's going to end up happening is it'll say like, you should sign up for this class. We're just on the wrong pages. You're going to get stuck in the loop and sign up for something if you're not careful.
I know. All right, so we see it. I know you have a lot more material to go through. I just wanted to show that example. So
No worries. No worries. So then we talked about newsletter earlier. So twice a month, because I don't want this to be anything that becomes burdensome on me. I send out a newsletter. So this was the one that went out today because it's the the first of the month. Sorry, my office assistant is being very rude and interjecting here. All I do with this is I publish the same blog that gets pushed onto my website so that when you click on it, you're taken to my website. I have another little something to cause them to think a level deeper that fits within my brand and the things that I'm constantly thinking about talking about. A quick blurb for what they should register for, whether it's an event of mine, an event of another coach's, or family reunion, whatever, something to keep them plugged in. It's my sell, right? And then another little something to think about. And that's it. Short, sweet, and to the point. If you do a newsletter, I highly recommend leaning into clickbait just a little bit in your subject line. So for example, the focus of this one was a conversation I'd had with my husband. The subject line, if I'm remembering correctly, said something along the lines of, did you ever wonder what a tech bro thought about you? And it's just clickbaity enough for someone to go, what the heck is she talking about? And open it, right? So short, sweet, and to the point newsletter, something that they're actually going to be able to go through without being like, that's way too much, I don't care anymore. And clickbaity enough that they're going to open it. On social media, the one thing I would recommend most for social media is to please make this the place where you're human. Again, this is my personal opinion about authenticity and being true to yourself. If you're selling all the time, they have to go somewhere to go to see if they actually like you as a person. Matt can tell you this, my social media is filled with this doo-doo brain over here, my chickens, a constant stream of flowers that I'm growing. It's the place where you can get to know who I am, which is at heart a grandma who has chickens, bakes bread, writes articles about bees, and does jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Anyway,
go ahead.
It's a bummer. There's also a bunch of tools. No, it is kind of a bummer. Yeah. Tools that you can explore for where to really like stake your claim, so to speak. So if a website isn't your thing, if a newsletter isn't your thing, a couple of other things to look at. Let's see if I can find the right tab here. Padlet is really, really cool. Padlet is something that you can, I'm working on this. It's totally in the works and is totally crappy. Padlet is a place where you can drop a bunch of things, kind of like Monday.com or whatever, kind of has that feel. But what people can do is they can gain access and they can add to these boards. So it creates a space of community where you're providing resources, but they can engage with it as well and say, oh, here's a little something that I do that creates the same kind of value. Padlet's an option. If you haven't heard of Skool with a K, Skool, if you're looking at launching a course or a membership, Skool is a great place to do it. This is a good friend of mine, Joe Cipollini. Remember Joe, Matt?
I do. Yeah.
I'm afraid this is going to play a video. It isn't. Okay. You can check this out. So he has 233 members that are subscribed to his Skooled channel, which is all about real estate and sales. He charges $7.98 a month. You can do the math. Mic drop moment there. That's brand builders. There was also Kajabi, Teachable if you're going to do a course. If anyone has kids that play video games, you might know about Discord is like a WhatsApp style thing for the cool kids. Discord could be a place where you're creating community amongst your people as well, where it's a message board or a chat board type thing. I'm so old, a chat board. So there's various options to look at to just kind of create community, create brand, and bring people around you. Another place for people to go, I want in on that. Here's my contact information. I want to be a part of your community. Okay. When you're looking at what platforms you're wanting to plug into, just ask yourself, what's the outcome that I'm looking for? What resonates most with my brand? Let me shut up for a minute. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Good to go. My goodness. The last thing, I'm going to send this to you because it's too much for you to, it's just too much. It's just too much. But here it is. This is going to get sent to Matt. Matt can send it out. 15 P's of copywriting. This is why it's too much. It's 15. It's 15 P's of copywriting. This is wildly helpful though, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's the flow by which, starting here, go all the way down and then up and all the way down, that you're going to make a sale. This could be wildly helpful to walk people through from a coaching standpoint of how do they help people to sign up for a MOFR or those types of things, but also for your own sales pitches in your pages and your websites and your email blasts, whatever, how to carry someone through to deciding if they want to make a sale. 15 P's. I will send that to you. If you have questions about it, let me know. Cool? So, from this whole smorgasbord, what I would love for you guys to take out of this is these 3 questions. To take some time to consider, who am I uniquely positioned to serve, right? What is my unique perspective on how to solve the problem that the person is coming to me with? And what is one media piece that I would implement fully? You got to implement one thing fully before you go wide. Please, God, it'll drive you nuts if you start doing 6 things all at once, right? That's going to help to build my brand. Questions, comments, thoughts, discussions?
One thing that I would add, and this goes along with the, who am I uniquely positioned to serve? I would also encourage you to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? Right? If somebody thinks of X, what is that? And how do I make myself being known for that? If you think about, some of the most influential people out there, and I don't mean like TikTok influencers, I hate that phrase. I mean actually influential people. They generally have a running theme of, this is what I like to talk about. These are the problems I like to solve. And so the more you can get clarity on that, the more you can ask yourself, does this newsletter follow along with that? Does my website convey that message?
Yep.
Leo, anything that you would add to that?
No, I would just 100% agree, highlight, and underline what you just said. Yes.
All right, awesome. Jerry?
Oh, you're still on mute, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. I think we had talked earlier in another session about passive income, and what is kind of coming to mind to me is that this is a great framework, to kind of really start building that potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And if I could just say, what's probably going to happen is that you're going to identify the thing that you want to solve, and the immediate like crow on your shoulder calling in your ear is going to say, that's already been done. It's already been done. Don't even try it. Don't even bother. And that's BS. That's complete BS. Yes, it's been done. It's never been done through Jerry's vision, with his experience, with his life experience, and the lens that he's looking at it through. Right? Krista and Jerry could have the same thing in terms of like, this is the problem that I want to solve. And those solutions look wildly different. So as soon as you have that thing and the crow on your shoulder says, don't even bother, that's dumb, everyone's already done that, shoot the bird and keep on going.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And I wanted to touch on something earlier, starting with that free value and then going to your main offering. Real quick, just I'm going to stop the share for a second. Just quick show of hands. Who would like to add more agents to their program? What if you had every agent in your market aware of who you are, what you offer, and they're plugging into the stuff that you have for free? What did you just build there? Starts with the D. Come on.
Database.
That's
Database.
it. That's exactly it, right? How easy would recruiting become if every agent in your market is already aware of who you are and what you do? It's a heck of a lot easier than getting a roster of, Coldwell Banker and calling them, cold calling, trying to find somebody who's going to sit down and meet with you,
Can I get
right?
on a soapbox?
Please jump on it.
I kind of sort of said it earlier, but I don't know if you guys realize how uniquely special and powerful you are in our like ecosphere. I don't think PCs are celebrated nearly enough, and so I'm going to be like weirdly passionate about this, but I'm serious about this. Genuinely, this opportunity, how cool would it be to be the reason that recruits are coming into your office because you're the coach celebrity that everyone's going, what am I doing over here at Real? They're all for themselves. This person's out here giving all of their goodies away for free. You are so immensely powerful in our success. You just got to own that space.
Well done.
Off soapbox. Apologies.
No. Stay up there. You're good. You're good. I love it. I love it. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? I know that this conversation, or at least the genesis of this conversation, started with social media and how to get out there. And I trust that everyone sees that it is so much more than that. Social media is just one tiny piece of the bigger picture. So I'm curious, anybody have any questions, anything that maybe we didn't go into enough detail on?
I would like more ideas on types of things to post for the masses.
In terms of, so what I would say to that is, let me pop this back up again, just briefly. I could give you ideas, right? But these ideas may not resonate with you at all. And if they don't resonate with you, they dang sure aren't going to resonate with your audience either.
Good
So
point.
what I would challenge you to do is as you're going about your day, if you're listening to, and you can poke around on my website and see how silly some of the stuff is that I pull into as an analogy for what it's like to be a leader or what it's like to be preparing for the end of the season or whatever it might be. But as you go about your day, there's all these little synapses that are firing. I guarantee it. We all have them about like that song made me think about this transaction situation that I just had. Jot it down. That's the kind of material that's authentic that only Jody could come up with that are going to make people want to go, when Jody makes a Facebook post, I want to read it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is that a fair answer? It's not a cop out, but it felt like a little bit of a cop out of an answer.
No, it helps give clarity.
Okay, good.
Well, and so I would also add that it's not really about what can you post that is going to catch the attention of the masses. The better question is, what can I write or what can I put out there that would interest me? Because if it interests me, it's going to interest my ideal client as well, and you're going to have a better targeted focus to your audience.
The other thing with social media that I do just want to caution people about too, and we know this to be true, but I think it needs to be said out loud. Just because your post doesn't get a bunch of likes, loves, ha-has, angry faces, whatever the heck it is that we have now, doesn't mean that people aren't noticing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the number of times that I've gotten someone to sign, like I had a beta test of this tool that I had launched a couple weeks back, and that I'd posted it on Facebook and didn't get a ton of reception on it, but a bunch of people that I'm only friends with on Facebook asked to beta test it. Right? So just
I've
be
had that
aware.
happen many times. I've had more in-person comments to things than on the comment or on the post itself.
That's right. That's right. So don't get fooled by the ha-has and the sad faces and whatever. Right. Yeah.
And I think something I learned a lesson a few months ago, something that speaks to that is when you do post the random thing, like I'm going to be a grandma for the first time, and you get over 100 comments when you're used to getting 10 or 15, that just tells you people are watching. They're
right.
just not commenting or liking. And so, yeah.
And congrats if that's
Thank you.
true.
It is true. Thank you.
Well, and it's a great illustration. There is nothing that you could post about business that would get that same type of engagement.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sharing who you are as a person. And then, another thing to consider too is share the struggles that you have had in the past and share the struggles that you're currently dealing with as it relates to your business. Nobody wants a perfect coach. That sounds boring.
Yep.
Right? They want a messy coach. They want a real coach. I mean, I think y'all have seen me at my, I don't know about my best, but you've definitely seen me at my worst. And that's just who I am as a coach. That's who I am as a person. I'm not going to put on a brave face and pretend to be something that I'm not. And your clients, that will resonate with your clients when you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm dealing with this challenge in my business. It's messy, and here's what I'm doing to solve it. If you can show that, through coaching, we are going to explore your thinking and behavioral patterns that are holding you back and identifying where we can spend time to move the ball forward, not make you the perfect agent, but make you 1% better today than you were yesterday, then you're conveying your message, your power as a coach. Krista?
Sure. Sorry, trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Essentially, I don't want to get too deep with the whole algorithm thing or anything, but we are in a business still where we teach our clients.
Oh, you just went on mute all of a sudden. That was weird.
Okay, let's try it that way. So I think that we teach our clients to go out and find the clients in our SOI who are going to give us referrals, who are going to help us make more genuine connections based on what they know, like, and trust about us, right? So I think when we're posting, when we're sending out stuff, I'm always trying to think too, like, is this something I would want somebody to share to another potential agent? Right? Like, so what are ways when we're focusing on this that we can capture that? Would Matt go and share this for me and be like, if you don't know a PC coach in California, like Susan over here in LA, I want you to go talk to Krista, and this is her Instagram, or this is the email that she sends out. Give it some thought and then I'll introduce you. Like, that's another thing I like to think about when I'm building this out that I personally struggle with. How do I make this so it's shareable by my market center, by other leaders, by other, agents?
Yeah, and that is a hard thing with social media. I had gone for a long time, I had my Instagram account, which I kept just to friends. Genuinely. Like if clients would try to friend me on it, I'd be like, sorry, nope, go back to Facebook. Get out of here, right? And then finally, recently, I went through and did a massive purge on Instagram. And there was nothing spooky in there. It was just a ton of pictures of cats from when Instagram first opened up, and I had a bunch of cats, right? But it just wasn't relevant anymore. And so I finally went through and did a massive purge. I recently have switched my Instagram account over to a professional account, like by its type. You can do personal or professional, but it doesn't mean that I don't post personal stuff on there. I'm just intentional about, and I already told you guys, I'm a very boring person. So there's not a bunch of like wild escapades that I could be posting about. But for example, I do still love to go to concerts. That's the one non-grandma thing about me, that not that grandmas can't go to concerts. Apology, Jody. Jody, you can still go to concerts too.
Oh, I go to concerts too.
Perfect. Apologies.
I'm going to be the young, hip, cool grandma.
There you go. Perfect. My genre of choice is 90s grunge rock. And that for some people isn't like the most professional thing in the world. I don't really care. It's just who I am, right? And so, and it's a piece of my story, and the folks that know me know, more about my history, and it doesn't really matter. So I will absolutely post me at a concert jamming out to some weird, grunge rock, whatever. Yeah, Tool concerts, absolutely. When I went to see Offspring last year, I made sure everyone knew this was the best concert of the year. You should go check out Offspring, right? So yes, and you are still human, and they want to know that you're human.
Mm-hmm. We just went to Pearl Jam.
I got to see them in Seattle a couple years ago, and it was I cried. I cried. I cried. Most of my favorite bands aren't still alive, so it was an experience.
I'm at the Ohana Fest in Dana Point.
Oh my goodness. They
Nice.
put on a good show. Now the whole call is going to divulge into a whole different way from
Well, actually, we are coming up at the end of our time, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. But I would love to hear at least one aha from something you took from this call, or one idea that you got that you are going to implement. Renee?
We're having some shifting of people in the PC program, and I was having this internal conversation about how much do you give away for free? What do you give away? And you gave me the confirmation that I knew the answer. You give as much as you can, and it will come back to you.
Yep, it will.
It will. Because remember, training is the least valuable thing you have to offer in the coaching world.
Right.
You might as well give that away for free, because the power in working with you is working with you. Anyone else?
I've been encouraged to pick back up my LMS offerings, because I've already done a system. I've already done a coaching thing that I could put online for $29 or something,
Yes.
whatever it is, and I just haven't done it.
Something for us to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. All right, everyone, please help me in thanking Leah for sharing all of her time, all of her information.
Thank you guys.
This was awesome. Leah, we certainly would love to have you back at some point in the future. We'll collaborate on some of those things, and just again, thank you so much for
No, absolutely.
sharing this with us.
And yay, Dodgers!
And
yeah, if you guys need anything, I threw the document in the slide deck, whatever the heck you call it, in the chat. I also threw some of the websites that I was talking about in the chat. Matt, I can send the thing to you specifically too if you want to get that sent out. Oh,
if you don't mind, please, just email all of that over, and I'll share that. Share that plus the recording. I'll put it all in one email, and
gorgeous.
And I'll make sure that you're copied on it as well, Leah, so you can use it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye, guys.
Great
Happy November.
weekend. Thank you. Take care.